Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm Zachary Fowler, and we are live talking about Alone Season 5, Episode 3. If you're watching it on Amazon, it's Episode 4 because they count the making the cut thing. But this is Episode 3 of their time being out there that we're talking about. I just finished watching it, and it was a tearjerker. Seriously, that was if you haven't watched it yet, there's going to be spoilers, obviously. So hopefully you don't care or you whatever. But man, broke my heart seeing Nicole in the like that. Oh, and so I titled it "Surviving with MS: The Toughest Woman Ever to Survive." Man, she did so well in Vancouver the first time, managing to find the stuff to keep her MS in check. She said on the show today that she had actually been since like 2010. She's been staving off attacks by using herbs. I will link her. She's got a book. I didn't look it up before the thing here. I'll link her information and her stuff. If you know somebody that has MS or is dealing with MS, there's a lot of. I was listening to a thing on MS and all about it. And there's a lot of medicines that work for some people and don't work for others. They don't know the full reasons why or where it even causes it. It's like, and she has managed to figure out an herbal method to be able to keep her MS in check and keep herself healthy. And while she was out there, though, here in Mongolia, she was not able to find the herbs that she needed. So her MS flared up and it took her out of the game. Man, that broke my heart to see her so tough that she went through it for a couple of days before she was ready to even call it in, and she just could not. She couldn't go on. Her legs were done on her. That is so. She did not want to go out that way, and I don't think anybody wanted to see her go out like that. But what a trooper. Man, what a tough woman. So I will link all of her information after this below in the description. She's an amazing example of strength and ingenuity to figure out the herbal methods to keep her MS in check. And unfortunately, she was not able to get the right amount of herbs and things out there. And maybe the stress of the situation and surviving and everything like that, it was overloaded on her system and had an MS attack. Crazy. She is so strong. So I will link everything I can find about her and her herbal book, I believe that she has now, and all that stuff down in the description below. You can check that out. Very, very inspirational. And I've seen her posts with a smiling face and everything back on Facebook and other places again. So I'm sure she is back. We don't really talk or anything. Back and happy and rocking life again like she always is. So as I thought, maybe real quick I would show you exactly, since that's what we're talking about. Before we talk about the others, we saw some amazing stuff on this episode of Alone. The shelters, unreal. I thought I'd play this for you so you understand what exactly MS is. I didn't understand exactly what it was. I thought it was something completely different till I watched this.
What exactly is multiple sclerosis? MS primarily affects the central nervous system, which consists of the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerve. Just about everything you do depends on this system functioning properly, from breathing to moving and even watching YouTube videos. And these actions are all facilitated by neurons throughout your body, cells which we've talked about many times in our previous videos. These neurons are able to send signals all throughout the body at incredible speeds, in part because of the fatty coating that surrounds them, something called myelin sheath. This myelin insulates the impulses and allows the nerve signals to reach their destination. However, in the case of MS, this is where the issues occur. The immune system is designed to fight off disease from viruses, bacteria, parasites, or other agents, and does so by distinguishing these things from healthy tissue. But in the case of MS, the immune system ends up attacking the myelin in what is classified as an autoimmune disorder. This process of demyelination can lead to a buildup of scar tissue, hence the word sclerosis. The CNS then becomes unable to send and receive signals properly. Messages traveling along the neurons may be slowed down, distorted, or stopped altogether. Because of the varying locations and nature of demyelination, the symptoms of
that's what she was going through. Her immune system is attacking herself, and now it talks about fatty tissues that protect the neurons and being able to fire and things like they're the electrical sleeves, and like you got rodents in your walls, and they're sorry for the comparison, and they're chewing on your wires in your house, and they're shorting out and causing trouble. So that's what was happening to her out there. And part of me wonders that to a great degree, like one of the things that you are lacking so much when you're out there surviving is fat. Without fat, your body isn't able to you need fats. Your body consumes all your fats while you're out there getting lower amounts of rations. Sam said that he had 70 pounds of extra rations on his person he was prepared to use to be able to survive. And those can only go just so far, because if you're hungry, you lose your mind. You need something. Like I had that 63 fish, and I was able to eat almost a fish a day. And so it wasn't like I just survived on my body weight. I lost 73 pounds while I was out there 87 days. But there was only a couple times that I didn't have the fish head soup. The fish head soup was so weak because it was like 3 days old, and then the next day I'd catch a fish. So I really don't feel like I personally even know what it's like to be starving and not have anything for more than like one day. Because I always, there was only one time or two times out there when I went like 2 days with just like the wateriest fish head soup, and then I caught another fish again. So, it's tough, and they do an amazing job. I think I heard somebody posted a comment on one of my videos, like they don't oh, why would they even let her out there with that? She hadn't had an attack since 2010. She's had it in check. She's been living healthily and comfortably. I will link all of her information below for Nicole. An amazing story, her life, and to be able to deal with MS and be able to do all the steps that she's done without getting involved in from what I've heard of her story, not being enrolled in the medical system of pills on top of pills, which tends to almost always have some sort of worse side effects, whereas she's herbally controlled it. So amazing. Make sure you check out tomorrow morning. There's going to be a new video. I got the overnight of finding the home for the water wheel, and Sunday morning we will have the bushcraft water wheel roasting the chicken video up. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's coming out awesome. I've been working on it all week. And so what else do we see there? I got Brooks rocking another awesome shelter right from the start here, getting her fireplace going inside. And everybody's trying to rock some crazy shelter. Randy building the giant log cabin that he's building out there. Is like he's got to come home and go be a guest on Log Cabin Masters or something like that. Doing it all rough. It's going together really quickly for him. I've noticed some other comments in my as I'm answering my comments in my YouTube videos. People after last time mentioning the shelter, and they're like, that's ridiculous. It wasted time and calories. I spent probably more calories and more time and more effort than probably anybody else has ever spent on a show like this, building my shelter 8 stories up over a hill and building it with double thick bamboo walls. Randy's log cabin probably is 1/1000th of the amount of calories that mine did to build, carrying all those stones, those 8 stories up over the hill from my fireplace, since there wasn't rocks up there, and I made it. But granted, I didn't have the opportunity to keep going because it was 87 days time to go home. But it's like, I think the massive, awesome, comfortable shelter is the way to win. And Brooke seems to agree with me on that, going all crazy with beautiful fireplace and stonework around it, and just going to town right from the beginning. Well, she's got her energy up, and the time is. I didn't have the opportunity to work on my shelter till about 12 or 13 days in because I was so sick from my body just cleansing from just the food that I ate and all that stuff. So if you're just tuning in, I'm going to talk about what I saw from the show, and then I will open the floor to questions in a couple minutes here. Let's try to do it in like 10 minutes here. I only got a couple more things to say, and then I will answer your questions, leave a double question mark at the beginning and the end so I can spot your questions, because it is a lot for me to read with all these stuff coming in. So I will just answer the questions. Jesse, you know what I really noticed is these guys in this episode all had great locations. It seems like the others, Nicole, if you notice, there's like no fire around. She, personally, I was thinking like, man, if my spot was like that, I'd have like a fish camp down by the water and then another camp way back by the firewood or something, which I don't know. It's tough if there's not firewood. But then we see Jesse and Brooke and Randy all have these beautiful wooded areas with like standing deadfalls that are all around, and it looks like they're really they have a completely different environment. It's not grassy. They have forest floors with moss and all kinds of stuff, and it looked like Sam and Britt and all those guys, to get to conditions like that, they would have to hike or relocate, possibly not even a spot to relocate in their zone that they could with such rich resources. And I mean, that's what it's all about. That was my biggest oversight when going on alone. I was like, I'm going to go out there and homestead the situation. And it's like, you can't, homesteading, you don't go to like the most miserable spot ever and just put down stakes. You find the promised land. You keep going till you find the promised land. And we kind of see that scenario playing out again with Sam. He has a, what was it, Brad? Was that his name last week that quit? He had a location with a river that just didn't seem to be a very fruitful spot on the river. And it looks like Sam has the same thing. Just at a glance, I would have walked up to where Sam was fishing and said, I'm going to keep going because this looks a little wide and a little slow compared to, the spot that I want to catch a fish. The spot that you want to catch a fish, you're going to look for, I look for like a bend in the river where it's deep and there's a hole in there that'd be hanging out, a spot with a bunch of sticks and things caught up. And I don't know, like a where water's rushing over and there's a pool behind something where things are collecting, like channeling up and collecting. The fish will hang out in that pool with the frothy water on top and eat the debris and things that's washed off of everything else. The other insects that are under the river that get washed down, or along the banks where they get washed into the spots where grasshoppers fall in sometimes and they can harvest them. So it looks like Sam, he didn't take a fishing hooks or line, and he's using his paracord and making his own hooks, which I suppose could work for you. I don't think it would ever work for you as good, but who knows? I mean, we're not out there. Remember, we are just couch critics. I'm a glorified couch critic when it comes to this whole thing right there. I've not been to Mongolia. I can only say and speak about guessing really critical. We're just having fun here. I have, some time under my belt with the 87 days out there in Patagonia, but we only see one, like this much of their time. I mean, they have been out there for, it's showing like 9 days, maybe 10 days at the end. And we're seeing like 15 minutes of their entire adventure so far. So all we can do is just lovingly guess at what they're dealing with and what it is actually like out there. So I know that we're seeing a lot of game being captured as far as, these ptarmigans or whatever they are, grouse being snagged. Sam finally got himself a kill with the bird in his Paiute deadfall. If you don't know what a Paiute deadfall is, you can go back into the 87 days playlist, scroll back down, and there's 2 videos that have the Paiute deadfall. The one where I squished my hand like Sam was doing in season 1, always squishing his fingers. And the second one where I talk about the safety rock for setting little deadfall traps like that. Because I made a massive, pretty good sized Paiute deadfall, something that might even have killed a woodchuck. That rock was so heavy. And they are very finicky and hard to set. The heavier you're setting it, the harder they are to set. And so I don't prefer to use that one necessarily as my go-to trap when it comes to I like a little figure 4 that I make, which is in that same video. And you can see that in the 87 day series. So he sets his trap, gets a little bird. I did in Patagonia, I had little bird traps, and I managed to catch one bird because that was pretty much all that was out there. That one I caught that, and the one I got with my slingshot. Thank you for the super chat. Make slingshots come back again more. I'm confused. Make slingshots come back again more. I'm definitely working on making a slingshots come back again. Trick Shot Tuesday will be up next this coming week, and we've been forging a slingshot that will be up the week after that. So there's going to be how to make a slingshot from skis, and wax some matches with it, and all kinds of fun other stuff. The usual, just some fun crazy stuff going on. Shooting matchbox cars that are going down tracks from my upstairs to my downstairs through the house. Crazy. I'm getting really carried away as usual. And thank you for that super chat. So, and speaking of which, if you support this channel, that's always appreciated. Super chats if you want. But also there is links in the description below where you can see my Amazon store and get my 10 items that I had on loan. Just like I bought them off Amazon, they are listed in there. The axe, the multi-tool, all that stuff that I use, my sleeping bag, everything. And also all the stuff that I use in my day-to-day life, like the ketogenic foods and things that I buy off Amazon are on there, MCT oil. And the book that I read that started me on the ketogenic diet and started me on a lifestyle of being able to keep the weight off and control my weight. And or if I switch off the diet, I gain weight really quickly again. So I can always do that to gain a couple pounds before alone season, say to 8 or 9, when I go out against Alan and Dave and the other winners. So there's that. Always look in the description below the videos for the other affiliate stores too. If you're into shooting the slingshots, you can get whatever I don't have at SimpleShot through the affiliate link, and it supports this channel, as well as WAZOO and all the other cool places that provide me with stuff for making cool things in the videos. All those links are in the description. And of course, check out fowlersmakerimageinitiative.com, and where you can get cool stuff right from me. Comes with stickers and autographed playing cards and stuff like that. Fun stuff. I've been trying to mix it up. Even comes a little like circular and stuff on the back of the your order form nowadays. Been having a lot of fun. And so back to Alone, though. These guys, there's not a lot of wood, but these last 3 people that have just come into the show, Jesse, Randy, and Brooke, all looks like they have great resources of wood. So they easily, looks to me like, boom, they're set for being able to stay warm a little better than the others. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Will that be the advantage that they have over the others to make themselves more comfortable and be able to survive longer than the others? Because personally, I think comfort and being comfortable is one of the most important things. So the big shelter, not too big, is smart, but the shelter that can contain the heat and hold in the thermal mass. I thought about it after last week's one when I was talking about it. I had some ideas and stuff for like Sam and those guys. I don't know if they've tried it because they don't appear to have shovels. I still haven't watched their 10 items things. So when I do, I'll do a video on that as well. But the shovel, and if the ground was right, being able to make a sod hut, that would hold in the heat with a minimal fire. Banking your fire the way I did, you'd be able to bank it and it would burn in embers underneath, and that would keep your shelter warm with a sod hut. And with the sod, you might also be able to dry that out and use that for, if it might be too smoky to use as heat, because it wouldn't be heavy peat like in Ireland or something, but you could use that sod as a slow burning sod if you dried it for smoking your fish or something like that. Man, I'm so jealous of them. I am so jealous. It looks like so much fun that they're having out there. And I don't miss the being hungry. This 63 fish was enough that it was like a quarter or a half ration every day kind of thing, or probably even a little bit less, depending on the days that they had eggs in them and they were really rich. And when we see Randy, he's nailing the fish, and he's catching so much fish, he chooses not to continue to catch more, and he's doing it what looks like all on one hook with a casting method, which I did not know how to do. I had all 24 of my hooks. I had 24 because you're allowed 25, but one of mine was a sewing needle bent. They said that was an acceptable gear hack, and I managed to use that to sew up my boot when I melted out part of that off in the fire, and my gloves, and my crotch of my pants when those ripped out, North Face pants. Go figure. Triple stitched, and they still ripped out somehow. Probably because they were so baggy they kept sliding down, and I was like stretching them weird by the end. So that's awesome. He has the bottle, and like this, he winds it around the bottle, and you like say this is a bottle, you wind it around, and I've been practicing that since I've been home, and you fling it out there, and it spools off the end. And that's what we saw Dave doing. He had his attached to that, and then out the end of a rod, so he could use that to flick it out there. I've been meaning to do a video on that, like, we'll see, and make a primitive real one, and a primitive chooses to get 4 a day and call it good. So hopefully the fish hold out and it doesn't come back to bite him, where like he should have like been catching as many as he possibly could a day and building a smoking rack and or a fish wheel in the river or something just insane to be able to store up calories. He's a big guy. He's got a lot of big muscles than fat does, whereas somebody who has a lot of body fat, that breaks down into energy, transferable energy, a lot quicker for you while you're there surviving. But people like without my eating a fish almost every day, or my fish head soup on the days that I didn't have a fresh fish, it's like those 1 or 2 days where I was 3 days without a new fish, and that last day fish head soup was so weak. So mentally, it's so hard, just to lift your arms to do anything. After about noontime, your body just starts to drag. You feel like your blood is thick, like that feeling of when you get up in the middle of the night and you try to go to the bathroom, and you go into the bathroom and you just feel like you're just leaden, but you have that in the middle of the day when you feel like you should be awake, your body is still asleep and you're just dragging, and it's a miserable feeling that as your lack of calories and stuff pays a higher toll on your body, and you have to push through it. You just keep going. So that the logo and stuff, sure that looks good. So I'm answering your questions now. Check out the links in the description. I will put up Nicole's amazing. So sad to see her go home. I cried a little bit there because I was just. It's so hard. When I see that, I know what that feeling is like when it's over. It was different for me, but it was like it's so emotional for me to watch each and every one of them go away. Those feelings are still so strong even now, 2 years later, or 2 years in August. So it was hard to see her go. So I'll put her information linked below. She's an amazing survivor, and to be able to survive and do all that she does with MS and treat it herbally. What a story. So I'll link everything I can find about her below so that you guys can check out her book and stuff like that. Is the new Alone episode out? Yes. If you can watch it, I watched it on Amazon, episode 3, which Amazon calls episode 4 because of the final cut, but it's the 3rd episode of them being out there. Hit me up with double question marks if you have a question, so I know could draw my eye to it. It's a lot of work to read all of these with my dyslexia, so I will read as many as I can and answer your questions. And we'll hang out here for a bit longer. If you've just tuned in for all this, we may be getting into repeating stuff and going over things again or answering people's questions. And you're welcome to go away now. And make sure you check out all the links in the description where you can shop to support this channel, and or where I've been hiding extra footage in the video from videos and things like that, a little Easter eggs for you guys and more. This week's tomorrow morning, make sure you hit finding the location for it, camping overnight in a hammock for the first time, eel catch and cook, and then Sunday morning we'll be roasting the chicken on the water wheel. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I'm hoping it's the video that boom within 1 week puts me at 100. We're about to hit 90,000 maybe today or tomorrow subscribers. And if this video, which is a killer thumbnail, goes big, then this will be the one that goes me a big burst of views and subscriptions and puts me puts this channel up and catching up to some of these other guys. I want to catch up to Joe Robinette one of these days soon. What did you think of the hook Sam made? I don't know. I mean, he's got wire. It would be cool. I would think some treble hooks. It doesn't look like it's going to matter what kind of hooks he makes, because I'm just not seeing that his location is doesn't look at a glance like it's a good fishing location. But that doesn't mean that, were he to go to the other side or find a way to cast further out to where they're traveling, or that the fish don't come through in a run up the river, and maybe that's what some of the others are hitting is a run, and he just needs to get into that with a net or some of these hooks. It's hard telling from this far away, that's for sure. Come to Maine for the 4th. Need you to sign my survival scarf. Also, disc golf. There's a nice disc golf in outside of Warren. Is it Warren, Maine? Yeah, like Warren, Maine. There's a disc golf place there. I played a couple times. She is one tough cookie there, Nicole. So sorry, this not a question. Can you bring seeds? No, you cannot bring, well, actually that's not true. You can bring seeds as one of your rations. You can bring seeds that you could eat and stuff. That's something we touched on a little bit last time, talking about finding seeds. And is there time enough to plant something? It's too late in the year for them to be able to plant something, but you could take seeds and sprout them. So would your ration, would you be able to double the amount of calories or quadruple the amount of calories if the ration that you chose was some sort of a bean seed that you sprouted and doubled the amount of calories? Because it wouldn't take much to sprout a seed. Moisture, you put the water in it, you rinse it free of the water, you give it a little bit of air, boom, they sprout, and then you have more to eat than just the seed. You got it's better for you too. Sprouted seeds are better for you than the beans, just plain. So that would be that's an interesting thing that would be worth looking into. If you're going to bring a ration, sprouting your ration to double the volume of the amount of calories that you have from it, vegetable wise, might be worth it. So funny when like Nicole caught that big salmon. So somebody said salmon, and it reminded me that Nicole in the second season, when she was on there, survived and managed to find enough plants and things to keep her MS in check, not to have an attack, and to be able to catch enough fish that she had to turn them back at one point because it was so damp there that smoking them and stuff like that, unless you kept a constant fire going on it, the smoke wasn't enough to keep them from rotting. And that was a huge problem there in Vancouver. They had to, others have said that they worked for 3 hours a day to make an hour's worth of fire because the wood was just so bad there. And I saw Nicole was peeling the bark off the birch trees and stuff. Those tend to rot and be really soggy and not. You have a very short period of time where you can find them fresh enough that they will burn well. Rotten wood burns like junk, doesn't put off a lot of heat, and it's miserable to keep going. And you have to burn a lot of it, and then it heats right up, and then it burns away. Not a good thing. You need good dry firewood, and it looks like there may be some in the distance in some of their shots, but it's for a lot of them, that firewood is a ways off and spread very thin. And the ones that we saw today, their firewood seems to be, Sam not talking about Sam, but Randy, Jesse, and Brooke all have a lot of good firewood close by. So will that be a deciding factor on one of the three of them has a better chance of lasting longer? I don't know. It's definitely going to help. But some people's survival techniques are different. My survival technique was to build a comfortable shelter, keep up with my firewood, keep the fire going. I kept it going for 50 days, bank it, put it to sleep, wake it back up with my method. So it kept going for 50 days. And when it's banked, it still burns and still heated my shelter. Whereas I know Megan and stuff from former seasons, all the other guys, they knew what they were doing when picking out a sleeping bag. I didn't. I just bought a cheap sleeping bag and depended on my other skills to be able to keep me warm by like putting hot rocks in the soil underneath my bed and things like that. And that's how I managed to make it, because my sleeping bag sucked. It was awful. It's a great comfortable sleeping bag, but it's big and it's cozy, but it's not warm when it comes to being really cold out. And they picked gear that was warm enough that no matter what, they wouldn't have to have a fire. Their jackets, their insulation level, and all of that things would build up to enough that they could live without a fire, and they would only have to do it like every 4 days and stuff like that. Or some of them would do it like every day in the evening to boil their water. Megan actually, on season 3, actually boiled her I think it was Megan, boiled her water and kept it in a burn bowl so she'd have a fire every 3 days. So it didn't have to put the effort in to waste calories. Did the interviewer ask you about thoughts of suicide and pathological issues? I think they did at one point. They asked if we were, after it was over, they asked us about stuff like that. And I was like, I'm good to go. I remember one time at the end, they're like, are you sure you're ready to go home after all of this? You ready to go through the airport with all those people? I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm like, I'm ready to get back to the world. I don't, I like people, obviously, I like hanging out and friends. I never wanted to be alone. That's not why I went on the show. I went on there to win the money for my family and get us a home. We wanted to build out in the woods. In the end, we bought this big old farmhouse that you see in all my YouTube videos and stuff, outside of the ones out there in my shelter. So that's, I was there to provide for my family. There are many large predators. I think whoever bags a bear or a wolf, I will win it. Do you? I don't know what their game rules are. There are still rules as far as what they're allowed to bag, and stuff like that. I don't know what their list of is. Like we weren't allowed to do songbirds in Patagonia or rodents because of the Hunter virus. Sam said that there was ticks. I did talk to him briefly on Facebook, and he said there's ticks, and they had to be vaccinated because the ticks there are so bad they carry something even worse than what we have here with their ticks and Lyme disease. So, I wish we could just be vaccinated from what Lyme disease and the ticks and stuff. So they're taking a lot of risks with the things that are going on there, the ticks, the vaccinations, all that is, the pit vipers getting bit. They're really in it this time. So getting something big, a deer, I saw a glimpse of that in the teaser at the end, like Britt by the river or something like that, seeing a deer. If he gets that deer, it's not the end of the game and they're the winner necessarily though, because you'd be surprised how quick an animal's, you can eat one and then you're hungry again. It's like, it's hard to explain. Because the lonely and hungry, it only takes a couple days in a row for it to set in to really be discouraging. And, and they're dealing with PTSD from, previous times. We hear Dave say in the trailer or something like that, I'm already thinking about how hungry I was last time. It's like, that's something you're going to have to fight the whole time. And it's an extra level of mental game that they didn't have to deal with the first time around that they do have to deal with this time. and Sam's mentioned that, like, already this early on to be hungry like this again, it's like, so still shovel over axe and multi-tool over fixed blade. Yes, still shovel over axe. I think you see Nicole has a multi-tool. I saw her cutting her bark with a multi-tool. So definitely shovel and multi-tool, because the multi-tool can can file the shovel, so it's a sharpened edge. And I did have an axe on a loan, so not over the axe was still an important part. I was able to pound things in to make my dock. I was able to cut down the giant trees, and then I was able to buck them up for my firewood every day. I do a day and a half's worth of firewood. So if I broke my ankle or twisted my ankle, I'd be able to sit there and just cook the firewood and check, hobble down, check on the fish, and hopefully catch something. And until they told me I had to go home or something because they needed to fix it or cut it off. Do deer ticks have antlers? They're very tiny, though. You can't hardly see them. Deer tick antlers. What slingshot will you bring? I will bring a homemade sling bow of some design. Still thinking about it and working on the idea of it. Right now, I have the SimpleShot sling bow that I play around with sometimes. I haven't been practicing with it all that much. So I practice with my slingshot all the time, and the switching to arrows isn't that difficult of a thing. It's just basically would mean like recentering my aim. So it's not like I'm neglecting by not practicing with arrows right now, and it would take very minimum effort to readjust my aim for an arrow and to become just as accurate with that. Because when I had it the other day, if you see my video about the sling bow, and I was like going on, I called the video like preparing for Alone All Stars. I had that sling bow set up and was shooting and hitting stuff with it in like 4 shots. So I don't need to necessarily practice with it nonstop. I do intend to get all fully set up though and practice and be more than prepared next time to be able to shoot arrows and then be able to switch to just because it's going to be a special arrow, and I'll be able to pouch a rock and take out a bird. So I'll be making loops around that place looking for the grouse and stuff like that, trying to pelt those guys with rocks, and depending on the distance. Are there jackal in that area? Jackal? I don't know. Jackalope. All right, now we're just getting ridiculous. I was reading that horribly. Jackalope. I love the old jackalope. I want one of those. If anybody is a taxidermy that follows this channel and wants to send me a jackalope for my living room, I would love that. I remember growing up as a kid going to the gas station on our way up to go fish at Patches Dam with Dad and canoe around, and there was a jackalope in the gas station out there, and it was great. I was so fascinated by that. Jesse kicked butt out there. He sure did, nailing the snake and the I can't remember, the grouse and ptarmigan or whatever he's calling them. And what a score. And then that was something I forgot to mention. Did you notice how he looked at the organs? He goes, organs look good. I don't think that was just a off the cuff thing. It's something I always look for. If you get an animal and you look at the organs, and especially the liver, if it's spotty or something, then you don't want to eat the organs if there's anything out of the norm. And the more you eat wild things, you can look at the organs and you'll know what they're supposed to look like. If they're white, blotchy, spotty, something isn't right. You don't want to eat the organs. Otherwise, they're good to go. And you can eat every last bit of them. You could even cut the stomachs and slit those. Their stomachs are, like a muscle, and you could slit those, clean those out, and eat as much as possible of that. And then the last little bits of offal, maybe like the lower intestines, things like that, use those as bait to see if you can't catch something else, some sort of a rodent or something like that. Maybe there's some sort of a big rat or something out there that, or a bird, or some sort of a bird that would go after those underneath a deadfall or a live catch trap of some sort of a bird trap or a bird snares, all kinds of stuff. And use everything you have in as many ways as possible. And that's why I always I would boil those fish, boil them, fish head soup for days before I ever threw anything out. I would always put the stuff, smoke my fish, cook it, sear it on the coals, eat the fish, throw all the bones and all that, and boil it 3 times, boil it and drink it, because that's in the bones and all that stuff is where the electrolytes are that you cannot get out there where you're not on the ocean. That's where you get the salts and the electrolytes that you don't need. That's when I came out of my time in Patagonia, I was strong. I felt good. I've heard some others say that they were having, hair loss a little bit and things like that. They felt like their electrolyte levels were off. I didn't have any of that. I didn't feel sick until I started eating carbs again, and then it messed me all up. What happened with you and Jamie? She left, and we're not going to talk about it. It wasn't my decision what I wanted at all. And I still pray that, something could happen and there could be healing and our family could be whole again. I'll never give up. So in real life, a pre-exciting conditions disability just means you work harder. Pre-existing conditions, disabilities. Some people, I was thinking about that when I was watching Nicole. There's 2 types of people, it seems like. I've known a couple people in my life that have had like Lyme disease or hurt, and they use it as a crutch to kind of quit and take medicine and just struggle, and they like, well, I can't because of this. And look at her. She's got MS to the point where it took her out of the game at the end. But yet she's been living with it and finding ways to make, heal herself through herbs instead of medicines that might have adverse effects and be making you sick more often than not. And there's the people that say, you know what, I'm not going to lie down and quit, no matter what it is, whether it's a pre-existing disease, a hereditary disease, or something happening like Bruce Lee breaks his back, and the guy goes out and learns, he heals his back and comes back and defeats all kinds of people and makes a whole bunch of movies after that because he's determined to not give up, not to go quietly into the night and just to lay down. It's like it's all about your determination, and Lord willing that what you can make it through whatever you're going through. Just don't give up. You got to favorite spice you use on. Oh, you got a favorite spice you use on food. Out there when it's survival stuff, I bring my salt with me. My real salt from Redmond's. Real salt is my favorite salt. It's sea salt mined in Utah or something like that. They invited me out after the show because I hadn't never had a chance to go. But they saw it and sent me this giant care package. I'm still living off that giant care package they sent me over a year ago of real salt products, toothpaste, everything, all of this, all this stuff. It's like, that's all I need is that. It's the real salt and smoking stuff. So you'll see tomorrow when I catch and cook the eel video that I smoke it because it's the easiest way to get flavor and curing and keep bugs off of it until you're ready to eat it and protect it. And it brings all kinds of flavor out of stuff. So that trout was so delicious. Didn't matter how hungry I was out there in Patagonia, I would always, for 4 hours, I'd smoke it for at least 4 to 6 hours. And the best ones, the best piece of the trout that I ever had too was the trout cheeks on the really big trout. So after smoking the heads for like 5 or 6 days, and then I was low on trout, I'd throw another trout head in the fish head soup, and they'd just be up there kind of off to the side in the minor amounts of smoke. And that one little chunk the size of like a dime to a quarter, depending on the size of the fish head, when I got to eat that, it was just so smoked and so flavorful. In that first pot of fish head soup, the broth was so rich. it's making me hungry thinking about it. And you think at first I was singing fish head soup, you really taste like poop. But by the time I was done with that 87 days, it was like every pot of fish head soup was so delicious. What is your favorite slingshot to use currently? My favorite slingshot is my everyday carry, which will be in this week's Trick Shot Tuesday. It is made from a ski, and you can see it in my. It's made from a lucid ski, which are skis made here in Maine with native hardwoods. We got the ash, maybe walnut, native plastic shot. I am having a slingshot made right now. The test model should be here even for the live stream on Tuesday for this week's of that one. That's going to be production and made from plastic, so it's stronger and completely dependable. So it'll be my first production slingshot that will be available on fowlersmakerymischief.com of my own design. So that's pretty cool and exciting stuff. The Lord can change her heart. The Bible says the hold and kings never give up. I won't give up. Keep broke my back in 7 places. Never quit by the grace of God. Amen. Ash is the hardest wood in Maine, I think. Probably. It's sure. I think I carved a slingshot out of it the other day. And because we were forging a bushcraft knife for a video, a bushcraft chopper, and we are going to do that. And we're going to forging a slingshot too for another Trick Shot Tuesday video. And the ash, I carved a slingshot while he was forging, and we were visiting. And man, tough to carve. And it makes a nice bow too if you make a nice wide limb. I saw that on Jesse's, and I don't know if it's ash or not, but it looks like a handmade bow. He doesn't have any laminates as far as I could see in it. So some really cool game heads on him too for his game that he had for getting the grouse. So that was pretty cool. I would love to go on the show like this just for the experience. I can't though. With my job and my small kids, just not possible. You're really best man. Thank you. And is Alone All Stars confirmed yet? It is not confirmed yet, but they only have, after this season, there will only be 6 winners so far. So will they do that? I don't think so. I think they'll probably, I think they'd want at least 8. You know, if they did another season regular and then another season partners, they'd have, what would that give it? 6, 7. So that, you know, they could, depending on what they do, they could have 8 within another year or something like that. And then doing all-stars, we'll see. I'm hoping to do some other stuff before then. I've got some things that I've been talking to people about, other shows. But at the same time, it would probably just benefit me to stay here and do the YouTube and do fun stuff like go to Canada with the Hidden Woodsman and spend 2 weeks with him playing out in the bush and make a whole pile of videos and come back and be able to share something like that with you guys. So is Alone. I read all that. So what are we looking at? 49 minutes. Sounds like you guys are running out of questions unless I am mistaken. They're not coming in as quickly, so and it's hot as heck up here in my office. I'm still wearing my hat. So links in the description for hidden extra footage. I'll be putting those down there as little Easter eggs, as well as because some stuff just doesn't make the cut, but it's pretty entertaining and it can make the video too long. People don't watch it. And then also there is all the affiliate stores that have partnered with us that you can support this channel by shopping at those locations, as well as Patreon and going to my website, fowlersmakerymischief.com, and purchasing stuff there. And there's even gift cards there, so you can get something for somebody else and you don't know what kind of thing they want. You can get them a gift card and they can pick it out themselves. And you guys are running out of questions. why everyone make canoes. Much more practical use of a tarp. I don't know how much they have for tarps and stuff, so that's hard to say. Why there's no canoes. And everything seems to taste like chicken out there. Somebody else noticed that too. And so I'm gonna say goodbye for now. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you get the notification tomorrow morning. I will go live for a couple minutes before I post the Find a Home for the Water Wheel, the overnight video where I catch and cook an eel and do some other fun stuff out there on the Passamaquoddy River. And then Sunday morning, I will be posting the bushcraft water wheel, roasting the chicken. Finally happened, and you can see it when I post it. So I will talk to you later. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all your support, shares, likes, making your family miserable by forcing them to sit down and watch many hours of my videos. Have a good day. Fowler out.